So realistically, there are many vehicles that people do actually use in War Tycoon. However, some of them are actually way better than the others, and they are in fact, for absolutely no reason, pretty much just left behind because people don't understand them enough. So in today's video, guys, I'll be doing a different video where I'll be covering the top 5 most underrated vehicles in War Tycoon, where I'll be trying to cover every single category. First, the planes, helicopters, tanks, ground vehicles, and of course, the boats. And I have already made a video like this where I have went through the most overrated vehicles, so let's go ahead and give a part 2 to this. Let's give some most underrated vehicles to you guys. So let's go ahead and actually start. So first up, I would really love to go ahead and start with the helicopters. So we'll be covering first of all the KA-52 Alligator, man. And this thing is pretty much the most underrated helicopter as of now in the game. The reason why this helicopter is actually so good, by the way, is because it does have good travel speed, but the main thing about this heli is its insanely good maneuverability. Just look at this. You can pretty much just do a full circle turn in such fast amount of time, which can basically allow you guys to be able to destroy the likes of the planes in dogfights, but also not only that, you're easily able to dodge any type of tank show that's going to be coming at you, especially because of the fact that this vehicle does also have a very interesting hitbox and angle, but its main weaponry also does not go this far. And realistically, guys, the lock-on missiles are really overrated, and just because the vehicle doesn't have lock-on missiles, it doesn't mean it's going to be bad. Like, this vehicle does 40 damage per hit, which, by the way, is actually really insane. If you guys do manage to land most of your shots, any enemy will basically be able to die to you. This is pretty much just another version of the Little Bird, but better. So the next vehicle on this list is going to be a tank, and I know most of you guys probably think I'm either going to be talking about the Leopard 2A7 or the M3 Bradley. Well, no, you got this absolutely wrong. I will be talking about the likes of the T-72, man. And this thing is actually better than you guys think, and let me quickly explain why. This is probably some of the best defensive vehicle in the game, but it's also really good for the people who are OG. The reason being is because, first of all, this vehicle's cannon is able to turn incredibly high. As you guys can see, this thing can turn so insanely high, allowing you guys to have so much more playing field in terms of being able to snipe planes out of the sky. But that's not the only thing. It also has the old scope, which everybody actually seems to be loving, which does make shooting planes out of the sky even easier because it's the scope that everyone actually enjoy the most and is used to it the most. But other than this, the scope of it is also incredibly easy to control. As you guys can see, there's absolutely no problems with controlling it because the newer scope does still have a lot of control issues. It's still very hard to aim with it, especially when you guys cross the environment, but here everything seems to be really easily controllable, and it's just overall much more fun and easier to use. Other than this tank is also able to one-shot planes, so this is once again another benefit. Most of the time it will be working as a very effective base defense. The Leopard is going to be better for not dying, but the T-72 is really going to be much better for anti-air. Next up on this list, we have ourselves the Guardian, and the Guardian, I would actually argue, is probably one of the top 3 best vehicles in the garage on its own. And the reason why I'm going to be saying this, maybe it's 4th, maybe it's slightly worse than the Boxer, it probably is, but this vehicle is basically the definition of effective movement against your enemies while also utilizing your environment. This vehicle has very good speed, it's easy to unlock, but its armor-piercing bullets are actually pretty much just as strong as the Boxer, and that is actually a funny part, and I'm really surprised to say this, but I have done some intense testing on this, and this vehicle is actually really worth it. But you guys will once again have to utilize movement really well because it will be very vulnerable to tanks. But other than this, it could also really work for anti-air. The smoke does defend it, and the speed does also help of getting away from missiles. Anyways, next up we have the planes. And if I'm going to be talking about the planes, many people have really wanted to talk to me about how overpowered this vehicle is. I took some time to understand it, and the V-22 Osprey arguably could be one of the best planes in the whole entire game. If this thing can even be called a plane, it's really good for the reason that, of course, you're gonna be able to transport vehicles. It has VTOL, but the very most important thing that people do use this thing for is the fact that its main gun is actually incredibly powerful, but it's also very easy to use. You guys could really easily utilize this in dogfights while trying to turn with your enemy. In fact, this has slightly better turning speed than some of the planes in the game, but other than this, it's also good for being able to kill tanks, because the tanks, realistically, they will really suffer against this vehicle if you do utilize movement with this, and overall it has pretty much everything you guys will need to be able to play it with skill. It doesn't have any air lock-on missiles, it doesn't have any bombs. you guys don't need it, trust me. This vehicle will really serve a great job if you do start to use it a little bit more and truly understand how good this vehicle is. Alrighty, now I would like to cover one more plane which people have not been using, and I would really love to see some more use to this plane, but it is the Harrier 2 or the Harrier jump jet, and I'll be explaining you guys why Harrier is so good. First of all, its lock-on missiles are some of the most powerful lock-on missiles in the game, and no one actually remembers and talks about this. Second thing is that its most important thing is that it does have two cannons. As you guys can see, the cannons on the left and right, and you might be wondering, what is this so important? Well, let me explain it to you. Let's say you guys will be fighting your enemy while once you are in a dogfight and you're trying to outturn them, it won't really matter as much because your cannons will be on two different sides, meaning if you're going to be fighting them to the right or fighting them to the left, your cannon will always be in the right position to give you guys the head start inside of the fight, because the second you get into a turning position with your opponent, it's always important that you are the first one to actually go ahead and take a shot. Other than this, Vito is pretty handful, it does have good health. Man, I really would love to see this thing used much more because it is incredibly unique, and the most important part about it is the double cannon. People really underrate this. And now finally moving into the last one, I would like to cover the boats. I have spoken about the PGO2 very briefly before, quite a lot of times, but I will just quickly cover it. It's pretty much the fastest ship in the game. It allows you guys to get around the environment fast, but also the main gunner it has, which I guess we're going to be calling it a minigun for today. It is incredibly powerful against anti-air, but also it is really good at countering the torpedoes against the PR-206. Other than this, nothing really special. The boats are still very heavily underworked. It is good for anti-air for the fact that it also does have smoke, but other than this, I don't have much more to say about it. Anyway, I really would love to see, especially the V-22 Osprey and the Harrier jump jet much more used in the meta, because those are the most important ones, and maybe even the T-72. I really don't see these used, but they are way better than you guys think, and I very much recommend you to give them a go. Anyway, I'll see you guys next video. Have a great rest of your day, and by the way, thank you so much to all of my new channel members. It means the world to me.